Hi everyone, Sue Belka here. This is my very first blog video from the Treehouse, and I want to welcome you and thank you so much for listening to me today. I am getting started with this new project where I'm going to be doing a video every week or so, and I hope that you'll come back time and again to listen. What my topics are going to be are based on uh, some of the questions that I've been asked as a coach and some of the confusion that I have um, become aware of through giving a survey to a number of women. And where I would like to begin my very first blog entry is with a definition and kind of an explanation of masculine and feminine energy. These concepts are kind of at the base of all of the work that I do with women in my coaching business, and I'd like to begin with clearing up some misinformation about masculine and feminine energy. First of all, I want to say I am not talking about men and women. Masculine and feminine energy is something that lives inside of each one of us, whether we are a man or a woman. And feminine energy has a particular flavor about it, and masculine energy has a different sort of feeling about it. And so I'd like to begin by just defining those energies. Much of my learning and now my teaching is based in a work by a man named David Deida. So if you're interested in this kind of work, he is somebody that I would really highly recommend you get his books and so forth. You can get them online. His last name is D-I-E-D-A, Deida. And he is my teacher's teacher, my teacher being Satyen Raja, who was the head of a group called Warrior Sage for a number of years, where I did a lot of my spiritual work. So I wanted to give credit where credit is due. These two amazing men have really helped open up a whole new line of understanding for me and for the women that I practice with, and for me and my husband as well. My marriage has just taken an amazing turn for more happiness than I could have ever hoped for. So, masculine and feminine energy is at the base of the work that I do. And one of the things that I've heard, well, actually, two things that I've heard a lot. First of all, when I start to teach women feminine energy techniques, they quite often will say, "Oh, I don't want any part of that. I don't want to be thought of as too feminine. I don't want to be thought of as weak." And I think they think that I'm going to take them down the June Cleaver Road or something like that. And nothing could be farther from the truth. Feminine energy in its most pure form is the strongest thing on the planet. It is all of nature. Nature is feminine energy. And that is what lives within us as feminine energy as well. So it's wildly powerful. So I just kind of wanted to set that to rest. And the other thing that comes up a lot is people saying, "Well, I don't like to divide people into two different groups. People are people, and I like to think of everybody as one," which on a certain level, that's beautiful. But what happens by lumping everybody into the same category, we miss the best of both energies. So, what my purpose is in doing these videos is to help bring to consciousness when we're using masculine energy and when we're using feminine energy, and how to introduce these two energies into our lives so that we get the most meaning and the happiest part of life at all times. So, as as I do these videos, more and more will come into focus. And so right now I would like to start to define masculine and feminine energy. So I'll start off with masculine energy, mainly because it is the base of how our society was built in North America. I can't speak to other parts of the world. I think that they have their own ways of building their societies. But here in North America, excuse me, we are uh, based in direction, focus, achievement. These are masculine energies. Rational thinking is the way our media is set up, the way our science is set up. Um, Explaining and understanding through rational and logical discussion is very masculine. Now, as I say, women and people with feminine hearts like me have have had to learn over time to use their masculine energy, and in some ways we've gotten a little bit involved with thinking that it is us. And as I go through the next few weeks, I think I'll be able to start showing you places where you can make happier choices in your life. Um, Prioritize task oriented is a masculine way of being. Your assertiveness and competitiveness is masculine energy. So if you think about our school systems, they are based on competition. They competing for grades, competing in sports, competing in spelling bees. You know, we're always being brought to competition once we get into school. And if you think about when I get into the feminine part, who we are up until school is very feminine based. So school brings more of this masculine energy out. Um, and one thing to know about masculine energy is that it grows by challenge. So when we are being challenged in school, we're actually growing masculine energy. For those of us with a feminine core heart, it can feel like we're wrong or like we can't fit in. And a lot of times I'll be using my own life as an example here. I know as a child, I had a brother who was 11 and a half months older than I am. I still have that brother. And my parents brought us up in a very similar manner. Um, my dad would take us fishing or hiking, and while I liked all of those events, my druthers really would have been to have my dad sit down for a tea party with me or to dance me around the room like I was a fairy princess. So I have a feminine core heart. My brother, of course, has a very masculine core heart, as did my dad. So much of the time I felt like I was wrong or I needed to change. And so I bring that up for those of you who may have felt that way when you were children as well. So I'd like to go into feminine energy and to show you the contrast. Now, again, there are men that are very much in tune with their feminine energy. It doesn't mean that they're at all effeminate or that they have to be gay or anything like that. They just may be more in tune with it than some other men. So, as I say, it can be both ways. So, on the feminine side, our intuition is a real thing. Our society is kind of maybe not supported us in that, but it is a real thing, and the more you use it, the stronger it gets. And I found this to be true in my own life. I've always had a fairly strong intuition, but I denied it a lot because it was kind of thought of as weird, or I was told that I was strange because of it. So I hid it for a very long time. Now that I'm not hiding it anymore, it's pretty strong. It's kind of exciting. Creativity is a feminine energy. Um, Creative acts, as I was saying earlier, before we get into school, much of our play is creative. It's pretend, it's imagination games. And once we get into school, we are being taught language and logic and all of the masculine sort of energies. So it gets a little bit pushed to the side. Flow. Um, Flow is a tough one to describe uh, because it's whereas a masculine way of being is very cut and dried and so forth, and feminine energy is very flowy and movement oriented. Feminine energy is also collaborative. Um, that desire to want to create things with other people is based in feminine energy. And you've heard of multitaskers. Well, when you're in a multitasking moment, you are using feminine energy. That's kind of fun to know. Receptiveness. And in feminine energy is where we find empathy, where we can feel what another person might be feeling. And so, in my line of work, also, I work part time as a caregiver. And much of my work is based in feminine energy because much of my job is putting myself in the place of my client to know what they might need, even though they can't always tell me. And to be very receptive to what is happening with them if they're getting upset, what might be causing that. Those of you who are mothers know this very well. Watching your children, knowing what they need, knowing what is needed in the moment. So one of the main things to remember too is that feminine energy grows by praise. So it isn't just a pat on the head and saying "good girl." It is really actually growing self-esteem and feminine energy when you praise someone with a feminine heart. So in our next episode, I will be going more into what it is to have a feminine heart and how we might have put walls around that in order to protect ourselves from being hurt by this very masculine way of being in the world. So I hope that you learned a little bit today, and if this is interesting to you, you want to find out more about masculine, feminine energy and where you might be able to grow in one or the other of these areas, please get in touch with me through my website. That would be suebilka-personalcoach.com. Bilka, Bielka. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.